set the stage and the stakes tonight with two people who are following this race closely and perhaps have a little different perspective about what the Republican Party needs in its leadership at this urgent moment for the party and for the country. Our CNN political contributor and Republican consultant Alex Castellanos is with us. Also, Billy Tucker of the Tea Party Alliance of Florida. And Billy, let me start with you first, since this is a Tea Party debate. The Tea Party, of course, shot like a rocket onto the scene in 2010. Hugely helpful, if not usually responsible, for the Republicans taking back the Congress. When you look at these 8 candidates tonight, and you're looking for a leader for the Republican Party, an embrace of the Tea Party movement, what is your defining question?
The defining question is, how are they going to lead? We want to know how they're going to govern, and we want to know if they're going to be strong leaders. We need a courageous leader right now.
A courageous leader right now, and you say that in the context of debating President Obama, or do you say that in the context of your disappointments with the last Republican president, especially at the end, George W. Bush?
We say that just really basically on the fact that we need a courageous leader because we have serious problems in our country. The Tea Party is looking for courageous leaders to do the right things. That means in the White House, in Congress, and in the Senate. So it's really important that leadership shows up tonight.
Alex Castellanos, I want to set the stage for our viewers, just looking at our latest poll, a CNN ORC poll. And as we go through these poll numbers, first let me pause for a minute. That's the former Utah Governor Jon Huntsman and his wife. He is arriving here. Governor Huntsman has had a hard time breaking through. He says civility and a polite tone should be important in this campaign. He was just months ago, of course, President Obama's ambassador to China. He has had a hard time breaking through so far in the Republican race, but as you watch him enter his trailer with an hour to prepare for this debate here, one of the key issues he will stress tonight, we are told, is when he was the governor of Utah, it was creating jobs. We also are told Governor Huntsman will join the fight tonight in contrasting Governor Perry's view on Social Security with other views. And on that point, let me get back to where we stand, Alex. Right now, Republicans' choice for a nominee. This is without Sarah Palin in the race. Perry, the governor of Texas, 32%. Governor Romney, 21%. Ron Paul, 13%. Michelle Bachmann down to 7%. The former Speaker Newt Gingrich at 7%. Businessman Herman Cain and Jon Huntsman and Rick Santorum further down in the race. The crackling debate in recent days has been about Social Security, and Governor Perry is trying to clarify, is the term I will use, the polite term I will use. He wrote an op-ed in USA Today where he used the term Ponzi scheme in a debate last week about the finances of Social Security. He wrote today, for too long, politicians have been afraid to speak honestly about Social Security. We must have the guts to talk about its financial condition if we are to fix Social Security and make it financially viable for generations to come. How important is it that he get this right, recalibrate the wording and the message to audiences? Number one, the Republican primary electorate. Number two, if he's the nominee, he's got to sell it in the general.
Well, John, it's important enough that he wrote an editorial in USA Today. It's big time. You launch your campaign, you don't want the missile to hit Grandma's house. And that's a little bit what Perry did. It clouded his coming out party. It hasn't hurt him. I mean, he's shot to 30% in the polls. He's going to do what every Republican on that stage does, assume the position that, yes, Social Security is a Ponzi scheme, but I'm the only guy you can trust to tell the truth about it, and therefore the only guy you can trust to fix it.
But here's the question.
Say that tonight.
Here's the question. He says in USA Today, and we expect him to say it passionately tonight, we need to fix it, as he said here, make it financially viable for generations to come. That's what he says now. If you read his book, these are his words, if you read his book, Fed Up, he's talking about Social Security, and he says about it, and there stands a crumbling monument to the failure of the New Deal, in stark contrast to the mythical notion of salvation to which it has wrongly been attached for too long at the expense of respect for the Constitution and limited government. He is on the record in his own book of saying the Founding Fathers never would have done this. Social Security perhaps is unconstitutional. You're nodding your head. We were at a lunch today with 100 or so Tea Party members in the room. They agree with that.
That's right.
But so here's the challenge.
Right.
If he says that, you want him to say that, don't you?
We do want him to say that.
You want him to say that.
That's courageous, isn't it? Let's talk the truth in America.
Would he win the state of Florida in a general election if he said, if I were there, I wouldn't have voted for it? That's different from saying, I think it should be abolished.
It needs to be reformed. It's here now. It's just like everything else that happens when government gets involved in policies they shouldn't be involved in. Like Obamacare. This is the same thing. We're all talking about Obamacare. 20 years from now, we're going to say, why did we do that? This is a mess. It's broken.
You're a guy who cuts ads. You're a guy who cuts ads. Governor Perry is the nominee of the Republican Party. And one of the reasons people in our poll, Republican voters, have elevated him is they believe he is the most electable candidate. They believe he is the strongest candidate to go up against President Obama. As a consultant, if you were cutting for the Democrats, cutting ads, not Republicans, is that potentially a disqualifying goodbye Florida, goodbye Pennsylvania, goodbye Iowa, goodbye Arizona, goodbye states with significant senior populations?
If Rick Perry's the nominee, you can count on seeing that quote in an ad. And the other night in the debate, when he came out of the box, Rick Perry implied that if he could go back 70 years and undo it, he would. Those are the issues he's going to have to deal with. And what it does is it takes the spotlight off of the big advantage Republicans have running against Barack Obama, which is the economy and jobs and fixing Washington. Obama's made Washington bigger. Their economy work. He hasn't made yours work. And we need to be talking about that as Republicans, not Social Security.
Right.
I think a candidate, obviously Perry, Romney, are the top tier at the moment. A candidate with a lot at stake tonight is Congresswoman Michelle Bachmann, who came out of the CNN debate in New Hampshire in June with a lot of momentum. She has struggled of late. Look at this just over the months. Back in May, she was at 9% support among registered Republicans. Then in August, 9% stable. August, a little bit later, 12%. She was shooting up right there. Now she's back down to 7%. Billy, to you first. She is a favorite of a lot of Tea Party people. Her numbers are going down. Why? Is it has she made mistakes in the debate, or as she debates more, are people saying maybe she's not a president?
No, she hasn't made mistakes. I mean, she's been who Michelle Bachmann is. I think it's just because we have new people in the race, and it's changing the dynamics a little bit. But Michelle's been Michelle, Michelle. So, you know, she hasn't changed at all. We'll see what happens. Well, I don't think that they're all here.
Rick Perry occupies the same space with Tea Party voters and other Republicans that Michelle Bachmann does, but he's a successful governor in a large state with more stature and credibility, and so he's just taking the wind out of her sails. She's not going to knock Rick Perry out tonight. All these candidates are going to nip at his heels, but it's going to take a month or two to vet Rick Perry. These candidates have to not look just so short-term tonight. They have to present a candidate tonight who could be president of the United States. They need to show somebody that they could sit in that big chair in the Oval Office and actually lead the free world. So they got to be careful about getting too small tonight.
Is this the field? These 8 candidates tonight, we're going to talk a lot more in the hour ahead about the policy clashes and the like. Is this the field? These 8 candidates at this luncheon today, when I was asking the Tea Party voters what they think about the field, I heard a few run, Sarah, runs in the back of the room. Do you think we have the field right now and we're picking from these 8, or are we going to get somebody else, possibly Governor Palin?
I think the field's here. You know, I'd be surprised if Sarah did run. But there are still a lot of Tea Party people out there that think she will. So
I can't imagine that the field's going to change. I think Sarah Palin loves her country, wants to defeat this president. I think she understands, like a lot of Republicans do, she may not be the best candidate to do it, but we've seen the world turn on a dime in a day. So who knows?
Alex and Billy, appreciate your insight.